Hello, this is Ruth Sokowski. I'm president of Johnston Incorporated, and we're really excited that you've chosen to try a uPAR pilot. You really represent a leader, the next level of leader in terms of looking at a data-driven and outcome-focused approach. The data will provide you and your team information about which students can benefit from read aloud accommodations. It will also benefit your students to learn more about themselves. We're seeing that this is very empowering to them. And most importantly, it's really a new approach to really be more proactive in terms of identifying which students can benefit. Oftentimes, accommodations are just a checkbox or compliance or something that's really there or often forgotten as a tool that can really keep a student included and focused at their highest level of performance. So with that, I want to get started. You will have received an implementation guide. This is going to help you walk yourself through. As well as today, we're going to go through the Educator Dashboard so you know how to get started. So the first thing you're going to do, and you've probably already done this since you signed up for a pilot, is think about which students you want to learn more about. And so just some ideas of that. That could be students reading 2 or more grade levels below grade level, students who didn't pass their state test, students who already have read aloud accommodations on their IEP or ELL plans. You're going to set up the students in uPAR, which we're going to do next, and we know that you've picked a date and place. So let's learn how to set up students. In this guide, whenever you see this kind of shape, we call it kind of the guitar pick, this will tell you where in Educator Dashboard there's additional corresponding information. So let's go to the web. We're going to go to educatordashboard.com, and you'll get to a screen like this. And I've already logged in and activated my account. Once I do that once. Anytime I want to come back and administer a test or look at my data, I go to educatordashboard.com. I use my Google and I sign in, and simple as that, I'm in. For uPAR, you're going to use these 2 main buttons, Assess and Monitor. You're going to use Assess button to set students up and to create an assessment, and Monitor is where you're going to get all your data. So let's go in and hit Assess. And again, remember that shape that I said that's available? This will tell you information about who and when, which we've already started talking about. The Y has all the great research compilation in terms of all the research about reading accommodations. How and Assess are probably where you're going to spend the most amount of your time. Just to give you a peek at the how, this is going to remind you that before administering, you're going to want to know for each of your students their grade level and their independent level. Once you decide your location, remember to get headphones or ask your students to bring their headphones. And then you're going to set up the students. So let's go ahead and do that now. And we'll come back to the screen. So to do that, I go into the Assess button. I'm going to think of an assessment name, a password, and add my student. So for my assessment name, I might want to do something like the year 2015. Maybe this is fall. And we want to look at my South Middle School. And assessment password can be anything. I always say make it easy to spell or use your school mascot. Oftentimes the students know how to spell that. And then add your students. This can be done in several ways. You can use student ID numbers. I just type the number and hit return. It can be a first initial, last name. So this can be Sue or S. Samuelson. You can have a space in there if I want to. Or it could be first name, last name. So this could be Jerry. And I could have done capitalizations. That's as easy it is. So you can see within 5 minutes I can get my 20 students listed in there. Then I hit the next button. This is where you have that information you've already gathered. And so you're going to put in their grade level and their independent reading level. So let's assume the student was a 7th grader reading at 2nd grade. This might be an 8th grader reading at 5th grade. And this could be an 8th grader reading at, let's say, 3rd grade level. Text type, this is, again, you can default to all, where we'll determine that based on the first passage that the student wants to read. Or you can say, I want all my students to do informational text. Super simple. And then you hit create. And with that, it's going to create your student directions. You can print this out, you can email it, copy and paste this text to yourself, to your students. And on the day of the test, what they're going to do, and let's go ahead and do this, is go to startpar.com. They're going to hit that assessment name. So again, remembering here we have the 2015 South Middle School. If you have it available, you can copy and paste. You're going to give them that password. Remember, ours was Cougars. Hit next. The students will come up with their name. And I can't remember who I put in there. Jerry Witt was one of them. They start typing it. They hit sign in, and they're ready to go. A couple important things. We're going to give a script before the student starts, but this save and exit is very important. We'll talk about this, but at any time, the student can stop, exit where they are, and will come back right where they left off. So that's really important. All right, so let's talk about on the day of the test. Let's go back to that How button. Because the How button is really nice. Again, your students come in, you get your lab set up. Before you even get them logged in, we often read the script to the students just to tell them why they're there and what they're doing. Also important for you to know is, again, taking breaks. It's okay to stop at any time. Some students, we're going to do a minimum of 3 reading tests. And for some students, that's all they can handle in one class period. So it's okay to stop and come back. And only you can really know your students. You might also want to take notes with your students because, again, sometimes you can observe some qualitative kinds of things, where they're fidgety or just not focused, or was it a great day for them, those types of things. Did they need a quieter environment? Did they need additional time? And this is what's going to happen with the students. We're going to go through 3 different situations. First, they're going to read a passage silently on their own and answer multiple choice questions. Then we're going to have an adult voice read the passage to them. They'll answer questions, and then we're simulating a text reader where it's a more robotic voice. They get to change the speed of that, and they get the word-by-word highlighting. Depending on their performance, we're going to go up and down, move up and down to gather additional information. So that's how the day of the test is going to look. So now let's go in and understand and look at the data. Once you get the test going and the students are kind of setting up, you can actually go into monitor. You can get there through at this point by clicking on that orange band. Or again, if I'm back at my main screen, I just click on the orange band monitor here. And I would go to reports. At this point, it's going to show us our reports. You remember I just set up this fall Smith. I don't have any data there, so I'm going to use some other fake data for you for the purpose of today. And this will show you the list of students and where they're at. So if I click on a student, it's going to show me my information. Just to quickly show you how to read this, the silhouette represents the grade level of that student, and the book represents the independent reading level. So this would be a 5th grader reading at a 2nd grade level. These columns represent those 3 different conditions: silent read, adult voice, and text reader. And then the green, yellow, and red talks about it over here, but green kind of means that they're independent. Yellow could be instructional. Red, that would be very frustrational level. And the way you would read this is look at their grade level to say, we use this data to just triangulate with their independent reading data. So this tells us, yep, we're right on board with what their reading data says. And then we look at the grade level. So we jump them up to grade level, and you can see that this student does equally well with an adult reader and a text reader at their grade level. We actually did some additional testing to see if they could comprehend above. And while they don't do as well, they still do fairly well. And so again, a text reader might help them do more challenging and more complex text. We definitely should not be modifying text for this student. You'll also see some summary data. And that data is really important to help look at the overall picture. So let's jump back to our implementation guide and see where we're at. So we've identified students, we've set them up, we picked a date and place, and then we've gone and given the script and administered uPAR. So let's assume all the data is done, and now we want to go through that data, and we recommend doing a teacher data walk. Oftentimes, if your teachers are there in the room with you, we can walk right out of that classroom right into another room and look at the data. This teacher data walk will help you as a facilitator guide them through how to interpret that data, looking at that big picture data down to the individual student data. We do recommend that you print that data. The way to get to that printing is hit that little hamburger icon, and then you can either download or print all. So again, we give just different guidance, questions, and facilitator notes to help you think about, and your teachers think about that data. I think what's really important in this is we actually help them. We give you some sample data to use as well. But I think it's really the other important part about this is we really help with some role clarity. We really want the teachers to understand that their main role is to make sure that these accommodations are available and used for the students who need them, obviously, not for the students who don't benefit. And that's a big relief for the teachers because oftentimes they feel burdened by learning the technologies that might accompany this, and that's really the student's job. So what we do for the students is what we call a student data talk. And we recommend as kind of a best practice that you follow up with students in a second class period. And we're going to do two things during that second class period. We're going to do the student data talk, but we're going to start training them on their text readers and their tools that are available for them. It could be where to find accessible reading materials. But let's talk about the student data talk, because what's really exciting about this is that this is where we start to address the student preferences. Because just like getting your eyes examined, we first need to know what your prescription is. And so that's what we've kind of done, is figured out what the data is and who can benefit and how a reading accommodation will benefit you. And now we want to find the frames. We want to know the student's preference. And so with this, we actually have a little worksheet for the students. So the students come in, and before they even see their data, we ask them, which of those approaches did you really like? Do you like reading all by yourself? Do you like having that really nice human sounding voice, either with a teacher or on the computer, but knowing that there's a lot of limits to that? If I use a teacher or somebody else to read to me, or if I have to have that really nice human voice, not everything's read in those nice human voices. Or do I like the computer reading to me, where I can go anytime, anywhere, I can have anything read to me? So we have them give us their preference about that. Then we teach them how to read the data, and then we actually hand them their individual data, and they actually look at that and find, based on the data, which is their best mode of reading, and then they compare that to their preference. And from that, they make decisions about their reading accommodations with you. And then we start to prepare them, because we know they're going to run into obstacles. Maybe a teacher says you can't do that. Maybe they're embarrassed about the social settings. We want them to start talking about that and thinking about that. And then we also want them to set goals. All of this is based on research about how to help students in terms of self-determination, be advocates for themselves. And we have them start to determine what they're, based on their goals, when and where they're going to use, and start monitoring that. We want to build those habits in students. And then we recommend that you meet maybe once a month to go over this, or maybe within the first week to see how it's going and how they're doing that. Oftentimes in that class period, this doesn't take very long. You have time to train them on, like I said, their tools. So they can be trained on their text reader, how to find materials either through Bookshare or through the Kindle bookstore, or some type of materials, maybe how to find their electronic textbook and look at some included read aloud materials. In terms of monitoring, I can give a quick little shameless plug, but our Snap and Read Universal will also help you with that monitoring. We'll tell the students and the teachers how long the students have been reading and how many words they've had access to, and even some of the readability level. And that's about all you need to know for your uPAR pilot. A couple subtle things. I highly recommend in your teacher data walk to include your administrators. They need to see, everyone knows that we have students that are different. And we talk about universal design for learning or differentiated instruction. This really makes it explicit that you have different kinds of learners, and that we need in every class period to be accommodating these students in different ways. We also need them to see the outcomes of what potentially, if they use these these accommodations that we're talking about. Oftentimes, accommodations are just thought of as not really having huge benefit, but we're really committed to keeping students with that high level rigor and in the general classroom with grade level material. And so oftentimes this helps them understand the importance of this. And this needs to become a whole school effort where the administrators, the teachers, and the students are all on board with why we're doing this. So good luck. We wish you lots of luck. If you have any questions, obviously call us. But again, thank you for being one of those leaders, trying a new approach and really building capacity in your building so that everybody can really understand the impact and the outcomes and be more data driven and more proactive with your reading accommodations. Thank you.